Puja, Guru Govinda, Guru Mera Par Brahma, Guru Bhagavanta. Guru Mera Deva, Alakh Deva, Sarva Puja, Charan Guru Seva. Guru Meri Puja, Guru Govinda, Guru Mera Par Brahma, Guru Bhagavanta. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Guru Meri Puja, Guru Govinda, Guru Mera Par Brahma, Guru Bhagavanta. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Guru Meri Puja, Guru Govinda, Guru Mera Par Brahma, Guru Bhagavanta. Shri Satguru Dev Ki Jai.
Welcome to Satsang, and thank you for such beautiful, beautiful chanting to begin it. The sounds of devotional chanting, the sounds of mantra chanting are very, very powerful, and those that are able to actually impact us on a very deep cellular level. It's not just sound therapy the way we think of sound therapy sometimes, but it actually is that which comes in through the ears, but not limited to the ears, but comes in and actually impacts the very structure of our being internally. So thank you for the beautiful, beautiful chanting and kirtan. As it's our first satsang back in a while, we have a lot of questions that have come in advance. I'll begin with one or two of those, and then, as always, open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. Is it possible to be excited about our life, yet still be detached? Absolutely. You know, the concept of detachment, or vairagya, is the Sanskrit term that we use for that state of non-attachment, is a term that is very frequently and very tragically misunderstood. When it gets translated to English, and it gets translated as a detachment, disconnection, non-connection, we take it to mean as though I really am detached, not connected. But detachment, when it's the translation of vairagya, is not really the synonym of disconnection. See, in English, to be attached is to be connected. I have a blouse. The blouse has two parts. They attach to each other. They connect, right? Whatever you have two things. You connect them, you attach them. They're almost synonyms, almost the exact same meaning. To attach, to connect. So when we translate vairagya as detachment, it also gets translated as disconnection. I am no longer connected. And this is where you get a lot of indifference. You get a lot of apathy. You get a lot of the opposite of compassion, connection, which actually is what our spiritual path is about. So it's this very tragic irony of an improper semantic translation. So let me try to take it in a more correct way. Will you go out and ask them to stop doing that work up there? Thanks. So on our spiritual path, vairagya is supposed to be that which enables us to move through the world, doing our dharma, doing our duties, but not attached to the fruits of our actions. This is Bhagavad Gita 101. Do your duty, do your dharma, fulfill what you are here on earth to do. Do it with sincerity. Do it with connection. Do it with love. Do it with devotion. Do it with wisdom. Do it with all these virtues. And do not be attached to the end results. That is the detachment. It is the opposite of attachment. As in, I plant the seeds, I water them, I shine the sun on them, I plant them in the right part of my garden. But actually, what's going to sprout, what's going to flower, what's going to fruit, not in my hands, it's in God's hands. And so vairagya is the ability to be non-attached to the fruits. Why? Because otherwise we're frustrated. It's not for some very obscure reason that we need to be non-attached, unattached. It's because if I am attached, when what I want to happen happens, I'm happy. When what I want to happen doesn't happen, I'm miserable. And since the spiritual path is a path that's not about riding the waves that go up and enjoying it, and then when you come crashing down being miserable, but it's actually about being anchored and grounded in something that is deeper, eternal, unchanging. It can't be success, failure, gain over loss, appreciation over non-appreciation, joy over misery. It can't be that, because that goes up and down. And so the reason that we are supposed to be unattached, that we're supposed to have vairagya, is very simple. So that we are not frustrated and miserable, so that we are able to anchor ourselves and ground ourselves in that which is eternally true. Now, can you still be excited by life? Of course. We are supposed to be excited about life. Life is a gift. Think about any gift you've given someone. Would you ever want to give someone a gift and expect them to ignore it, hate it, stick it in a closet and pretend it didn't exist? I mean, imagine you go through all the trouble of finding a beautiful gift, finding the right gift, making it exactly what that person needs. Because remember, it's for someone not only that you know very well, intimately, but you also love intimately. And you give them a gift. Do you really want them to ignore it? To pretend you never gave it? To push it away? To spend their whole lives learning to not enjoy that gift? I mean, it's crazy, right? So God, who knows us intimately because God has created us, God who loves us deeply, has given us this gift of life, has given each of us a gift that is slightly different from the other because of the intimate way that God knows our soul, our karmic package, what we need. Does it make any sense at all from any perspective that God, as the giver of this gift, would want us to just say, yeah, that's fine, forget about it. I'm going to just pretend that it didn't exist? Of course not. Would we be given these 5 senses, the ability to see and to behold and love a sunset, a flower opening, the sound of beautiful music, the sound of Om, the sound of chanting? If we were just supposed to stop paying attention to the sunrises and sunsets, to the beautiful music, to the beautiful sights and sounds and tastes? Of course not. To the smell of a flower? Of course not. We are supposed to enjoy, we're supposed to be excited. What we are not supposed to do is be attached to the universe behaving the way that we think it should. That's what it means. And here for me is the easiest way to understand that on a scriptural level. So vairagya, in the Hindu scriptures, a lot of the virtues are personified. So they're not just a virtue, but they actually are a being who was incarnated and lived and has a story. So Vairagya is the son of Bhakti. Now, Bhakti is devotion, but not dry, kind of indifferent, apathetic. You couldn't have devotion that was dry and indifferent anyway. But Bhakti is juicy. Ras is the word that we use in Hindi for ras. It's the essence. It's the juicy essence. So Bhakti is juicy love, juicy devotion for God. Vairagya is Bhakti's son, which means in order to get Vairagya, you need Bhakti. Now, how can dry, apathetic, indifferent detachment come from juicy, devoted love? Can't. And he wasn't adopted. The only way for real Vairagya to come, and this for me was the aha moment, was I realized, oh wait, it's been simply mistranslated. It is not detachment. It is not the opposite of connection. Vairagya should have been translated as reattachment. You've got to have bhakti first. You cannot have a child without the mother. So we go first to the mother, to bhakti, devotion for God, love for God. We attach ourselves to God with love. And then what happens? Automatically, this attachment to who's saying what, who's doing what, who has more money than I do, who has less money than I do, who has a nicer office than I do, who's getting more esteem than I'm getting, who's getting more respect than I'm getting, who does different people speak about nicer or not as nice. All this nonsense that fills most of our life, it dissipates. Not because I've had to push it away, not because I've said I don't care, I am disconnected, but because I have reattached myself so completely to love for God that who's saying what to whom is suddenly of no interest to me, automatically. That who's making more money than I am? Who's got a nicer house or car than I have? Irrelevant to me. If you were walking down the beach, this is my favorite way of thinking about it. If you were walking down the beach collecting seashells, pretty rocks, you'd collect them. They're all you've got. You hold them in your hands. Very nice, sparkly, shiny. If at the end of the beach, suddenly there's a guy with a bucket full of diamonds, and he's pouring diamonds out. But you look down, your hands are already full of seashells. What are you going to do? Throw it away. Throw away the seashells, of course. Because in that moment you understand these diamonds are of infinitely more value to me than the seashells I've been picking up. But if before you got to the diamonds, somebody said, detach yourself from your seashells, you'd say, no way, I just spent the last 2 hours collecting them. They're pretty, they're shiny, they're nice, I want them. No. But the minute the diamonds are there, no one has to say, give me your seashells. You understand I cannot hold both in my hand and the diamonds are of more value. So this is how Vairagya works. It's not about pushing away the world. It's about realizing the value of devotion to God, the value of a spiritual path, the value of experiencing peace and bliss and joy and divine connection. It's not about pushing away the things of life. That happens automatically because you realize I cannot simultaneously be swimming in love for God, in love for creation, in oneness with the Creator in creation, and also really upset about how this person talked to me this morning. There just isn't room to hold both realities simultaneously. And I have to choose. Am I prepared to give up the joy, the peace that I was living in order to be really annoyed? How dare that person? Don't they know who I am? Who the hell do they think they are, right? I mean, I could do that. Or I could stay in my peace. I could hold on to the seashells, or I could hold the diamonds. It's up to us. But when we realize the value, automatically we let go of the rest. So by all means, be excited about life, enjoy life, embrace life, connect to life. But connect to it at its deepest, highest level. Don't connect to the little waves that just keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. Surfing is fun, but it gets tiring very quickly. Connect yourself to the depths. Connect yourself to that which isn't constantly going up and down. That's what our spiritual path gives us. And that, by the way, is very exciting as well. You know, if you look at the ocean from up above it, or even just from sitting on the beach, it looks very beautiful. If you go swimming, but you don't put your head under, still very beautiful. Ocean is very beautiful. But you put on a snorkeling mask and you stick your face actually in the water, how much more beautiful. But then people who go scuba diving say, oh my God, snorkeling is nothing. You haven't seen the beauty of the ocean until you've gone scuba diving. And this is true not just for life in the ocean, but this is true for life with a capital L. Live on the surface, yeah, it seems nice. Go up and down, lots of waves, okay. Look a little bit deep, it starts to get more beautiful. The deeper you go, the more beautiful it gets, the more exciting it gets. We think, oh, all the excitement is on the surface. The minute I become spiritual, I lose the excitement. I've had people say, oh, I don't want to start to meditate because I love the excitement of my life. I say, you don't know what excitement is. You're living in the excitement of waves that go up and down. Talk to a scuba diver about what real excitement in the ocean can be. Talk to a meditator about what real excitement can be. And so we love the excitement. It's just that our definition, our experience of excitement changes, like it does from swimming on the waves to actually scuba diving into the depths. Before I take any of the other questions that came in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that are here, if anyone has any. Okay, yes.
Why it feels so incomplete?
I'm sorry?
Why it feels so incomplete without satsang?
Why do you feel so incomplete without satsang? So, I'm sorry for having been out the last week. Here's the thing about spiritual practice. And this is true about all of the techniques that we use to touch the truth of ourselves. So when we meditate, for example, there's an infinite number of different techniques that people use to meditate. None of them is better or worse than any of the others. It depends on the school of meditation, the lineage, the types of people who are learning meditation. There's so many different ways in spiritually. Meditation, prayer, seva, chanting, study, satsang. All of them give us an experience. If they're right, they give us an experience of the truth of who we are. They give us a moment in which we touch that place within ourselves that goes, yes. A moment in which I'm not doubting, I'm not judging, I'm not in the past, I'm not in the future. I'm not worrying about my physical body or my bank account or my job or the guy sitting next to me. When I have an opportunity to actually touch that capital T divine truth of who I am. And until that becomes my constant experience, we need it from the outside. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's why we get up and meditate every day. It's why we go to Aarti every day. It's why we do seva. It's why we do all of these things. Because yes, ultimately the goal is I should be able to just sit, not even specifically meditating, not even specifically praying or doing my japa, not specifically doing any seva, just sit. Just walk, just live, and be in constant experiential awareness of the divine truth of who I am. And that's the goal. That's the ideal. But it isn't easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Because see, we have these things called minds. And the minds do all kinds of things. And the minds have aspects that we call ego. And the minds have aspects that we call sanskaras, or neural patterns and networks and habits. And we've had experiences and they've left impressions on us. We have our culture that tells us how we should be, what we should do. We have all of these things in our mind. We have a world of senses around. As if the voices in our mind weren't enough. We have a world full of voices constantly saying, buy this, eat this, drink this, go here, don't do this, don't do that, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too rich, you're too poor, stand up, sit down, work hard, meditate. I mean, it's enough to make you crazy. And as long as we are impacted in any way by the world of our minds or the worlds that we live in, we need these tools to keep coming back to the truth of who we are. If I never perspired and I never went out of my perfectly clean, magically bacteria-free, dirt-free home, I'd never need to bathe. Right? I mean, think about it. If I never sweat, I never got dirty in any way, why waste water bathing, right? I would be always clean. Body doesn't generate dirt. Generates perspiration, and you get sticky and sweaty and, eventually some bacteria and whatnot. But if I didn't generate any of that, and I lived in a perfectly sealed environment, no need to bathe. But we don't. We sweat. We eat food that isn't perfectly pure, that comes out through our pores. We live in a world that thankfully has got dirt. We live in a world, thankfully, that has got trees that have pollen that goes through the air and lands in our hair and face and hands and whatnot. We live in a world where, thankfully, we hold each other's hands and we touch each other, and their hands that other people have sneezed and coughed in and God knows what. So we have to keep bathing. We wash our hands, we bathe, we use soap. Not because who I am inside is dirty, but because the way that I'm moving through the world is accumulating dirt on me, and I have to keep washing it off. In the same way, our spiritual practices you can think of as a way of sort of washing off the dirt of my mind and allowing me to get back to the truth of who I am. If you consider the perfectly clean, naked body to be the truest expression of your physical self, then we bathe to get back to that expression. And the truest expression of our true selves is the awareness of our divine nature, the awareness of our oneness with the divine, with the Creator and creation, the awareness of us as consciousness, as soul, as spirit, as love, as truth. And so we meditate, we pray, we come to satsang, we do all of these things, we serve. Because they wash away the dirt of ego, of illusion, of the past, of the future, of jealousy, of competition, of all of this nonsense that is the metaphoric dirt of our minds. And just as if you've been on a camping trip and you haven't had a bath in a week, you get home, and even for those of us who love camping, nonetheless, it's nice to have a shower when you get out. And there's sort of a part of you that's like, I really need a shower. You get off a long airplane ride and you sort of feel like, God, I can't really miss a shower. In the same way, but on a much deeper level. As that dirt of the mind accumulates and accumulates and accumulates, there's this voice from within that says, I need meditation, or I need satsang, I need arti, I need seva, I need something to clean me of this dirt that has accumulated on my experience of self. And so it's a good sign. Nothing to worry about.
The question comes that will we be always dependent on this? Or
Will we always be dependent on it? Ideally, as I said in the beginning, ideally we internalize it. Ideally, I'm able to move through the world meditating. Right now, if we meditate, what does it mean? I close my eyes, I sit still, I control my environment, meaning I'm going to turn off my phone, I'm going to close my door. I need to create an environment that is conducive to meditation. I invoke a technique whether it's watching my breath, whether it's a mantra, whether it's a prayer, whether it's a candle flame, whether it's awareness, whatever my technique may be. But I involve myself in a full practice to meditate. What meditation really is, though, is simply a connection with the truth of who I am. I shouldn't need my phone to be off, my eyes to be closed, a dark, quiet room, sitting without moving, earplugs in. Those things should theoretically not be necessary for me to be able to meditate. But for most of us, they are. And this is why we keep doing it and we keep doing it. And eventually you internalize it. But that doesn't mean that you internalize it for all the time. What it means is that it takes you less to get back. Here's how Pujya Swamiji explains it. He says, look, when you're building a house for the first time, you spend a lot of time laying the electrical wires. You sit with a good architect, a good electrician, you get a good plan, you've got a blueprint. A lot of time and energy goes into the laying of these electrical lines. But once they are properly laid and in place, when you need to use the electricity, you just plug it into the wall. You don't have to relay the electrical lines every time you want to make a smoothie or turn on a light or turn on your computer. You just plug it in. So in the same way, in the beginning, you can think of it as laying these electrical lines. I'm laying the lines, I'm laying the lines. But we still do have to plug it in, regardless of how good your electrical lines are, regardless of how long ago they were laid. My blender is not going to work unless I plug it in. I cannot just invoke the power of electricity and make my blender work, or invoke the power of electricity and make the light go on. You still have to plug it in. And so as we go deeper and deeper on our path, it takes less and less for us to get connected. It becomes as simple as, connection, connection, connection. It becomes as simple as awareness. But we have to plug in. And until you've got those lines laid fully and properly, you've got nothing to plug into. So this is what all of this is about. And will you always be dependent? No. But, even the enlightened masters I know, the greatest saints I know, my guru, Pujya Swamiji, and others, they still meditate. But it's no longer something that they need to do. It's no longer, oh, my batteries are low, so therefore I better go meditate. I just yelled at someone. They do it because they want to. Because that connection is so exquisitely beautiful that, yeah, I can do it walking through the world. Yeah, I can do it here and there. But they still have that special time every day. Every one of them. Every one of them I know still gets up early, has their time of meditation. It's not, oh, now I'm enlightened. I'll just get up and get up late and have a cup of tea with the paper because I'm already enlightened. They could. Wouldn't change their enlightenment. But interestingly, the more connected you get, the more of this you want. It's not, oh, now I don't need the meditation, now I don't need the satsang, now I don't need the seva. It's they want to do more of it. The connection strengthens the connection. So will you always need it? No. Will you always want it? Hopefully. Because what that means is that your connection is actually going deeper and deeper and deeper. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. We will now be having satsang regularly every night after the arati. I'm now here for a while, thankfully. So we'll see you back again tomorrow. And if you have questions that we didn't have a chance to take this evening, if you're going to be here tomorrow, feel free to just bring them in tomorrow. If not, feel free to get them to Sevanandaji and he can get them to me in advance. And eventually we do get through most of them. And they do record it so that you'll be able to see the answer to it. They broadcast it live on social media every night so you can see your question when it comes. But hopefully most of you will be here tomorrow, and so you can bring in the questions then. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening.
जय गुरु ओंकारा जय जय सद्गुरु ओंकारा जय गुरु ओंकारा जय जय सद्गुरु ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिवा ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिवा हर 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 महादेवा जय गुरु ओंकारा जय जय सद्गुरु ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदा शिवा